Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi friends, and welcome to another recent release ranking video. Wow, the number of times I had to re-record me saying that. You'll never know how many. Okay, it was 3 times. But it actually took me quite a while to get to this because, as I have kind of not alluded to, straight out said recently, I've been trying to cut down on how many arcs that I've taken on. Now, that doesn't mean I still haven't been reading like new releases. In fact, it's been kind of cool to see how many like new releases I've taken on that haven't had to be arcs, and I'm going to point those out to you as I get to them, which ones weren't arcs. So that's been nice, but it definitely took me a while to get up to the number to be able to film one of these again. Sometimes in the past, you know, to have 40 books to do in one of these has only taken me 2 months to get there because I've been reading 20 new releases a month. And this time, the last time I filmed one of these was in May. So these are going to be recent releases that I read from May to August. Now, the oldest, newest release in here is actually one from February, though. I'll point that out when we talk about it, because I'm kind of including recent releases as books that came out. Well, since I'm filming this one in August, it'll be that came out in 2026 is what I'm considering a recent release. You know, depends on what time of the year I'm like filming one of these. But yeah, today I have 24 to talk about, almost 25. But yeah, the last time I did one of these, I think I only had like 22 to talk about. And that also took me like 2.5, 3 months to get to. But yeah, this one's covering, you know, May to June, July. This one's covering 3 full months of new releases. So that's really cool in here. So anyway, the way that I do these, if you're new to it, first off, hi, welcome. If this is your first video of mine, hi. I'm not doing these using like a ranking board or anything like that, but the way that I do these is I'm starting with my least liked / books that I read by the author that I work for, because I don't rank those books. So I'm going to talk about those books first, but that doesn't mean I liked them least. It means it would be biased of me to put them anywhere on this. I rate all the books by my author 5 stars when I read them. It isn't because I'm giving them 5 stars. It's because that's what I rate them as, and I say that in the review that I'm the PA. So I'm very biased, right? But I do have one new release that was a DNF, so I'll talk about that one. But then I go up from my lowest rated, which this time is, I do have a 3-star, 2 3 stars actually, whoa, all the way up to 5 stars. Didn't have any 6 stars to talk about this time. So yeah, that is how we're going to do it. And like I said, there's 24 of them. Some I'll have more to talk about than others because it's me and I can't keep anything super concise, but yeah, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. I talk about mostly always completely romance novels. I do tons of oddly specific rec videos. I have dark romance, mafia romance, contemporary romance, fantasy, historical romance. I have something for everybody who likes romance. So definitely check me out there. And if you are interested in any of the books I end up talking about today, I will have them all linked down below, or probably in the video too, because YouTube likes to add those shopping links in as well, but I'll also have them linked down below. So yeah, let's get into it. And like I said, I'll start with the books that I read for my author. I work for the author Claire Kent, whose pen name is also Noelle Adams. And she actually had 2 books out during this period. The older one that came out in July was when this one came out, was Hooded. And this is the 3rd book in her post-apocalyptic fairy tale series. This one was inspired lightly by Red Riding Hood / a little bit of Robin Hood as well, which is kind of fun. And this one was so cool to read. This series is turning out really fun. There's still one more in the series coming in December. But yeah, this one was super cute. It's, well, cute's the wrong thing. It's cute because this little book is cute here. But yeah, this one is about Jill and, what's the hero's name in this one? Let's see if I remember it. Jill and Cade. And Jill is actually a sex worker in here. And she's working at kind of this, like, tavern place where the servers can also, like, earn a place to stay by serving during the day and offering services at night. And there's this man named Cade who ends up becoming a favorite of hers. And she also discovers that he maybe has some more work on the side that he does as well, kind of trying to look out for the people in his area. And that's kind of where the Robin Hood part of it comes in. But anyway, I'm doing a horrible job explaining that for being her PA. But anyway, I love this series so much. If you are a longtime viewer of the channel, you already know that I was a big fan of Clara Kent for literally 5 years before I started working for her. So working for her and getting to read her books early and then talk about them with you guys is probably my favorite thing ever. But yeah. Then there's also Wedding or Not, which comes out April 4th for direct release, and then September 4th for direct release, and September 18th on KU. And this is a like rivals to lovers, like they actually like live on the same estate. His father is like the gardener, and he's the accountant for this family of sisters who are trying to continue running their family wedding venue. And they've run into some financial trouble. But when a video of the two of them bickering goes viral, they're able to kind of spin that attention into bookings for the venue. And so they have to kind of play it out as a fake couple and eventually a fake engagement and a fake wedding. So it becomes like a marriage of convenience to help the business. And it's really cute. So that one's going to be coming out in just a little over a week or so. Like, yeah, a little over a week or so. So definitely check that one out. Okay, now on to the one that I DNF'd. And I talked a whole lot about this when I originally DNF'd it. And I tried reading this one for a solid, like, month. And it was a real bummer because this was one that I actually did get an ARC for it from Orbit. And I was so sad that I just wasn't connecting with it. Because even though this book specifically that I'm about to show isn't a romance, okay, it isn't. I had read other books by this author that weren't romances and I loved them, okay? But and that's okay. I know I just said that I almost exclusively read romance. Yes. But I read other things in my lifetime. I don't only have to have romance. But I just could not connect with the main character to save my life. I just couldn't connect with her. It wasn't happening. And, you know, if I don't have a romance to connect to, I have to connect to something. And it just wasn't happening. So anyway, I DNF'd The Last Contract of a Seiko by Fonda Lee, who has previously written the Greenbone Saga, which is one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time. I read it 2 years ago at this point. Was it 2 years ago? I think so. I don't know, but it's one of my favorite series of all time. I want to reread it again soon, actually. I love it. And the characters were so alive to me. I just breathed for them. I loved them. And I just could not connect with the Seiko. So I won't go into details about this story because I talked about it a lot when I DNF'd it and want to get on to so many others to talk about that I did love. But I gave this one, I believe I gave it 180 pages is where I gave it about this far into the book before I DNF'd it. Which is much farther than I normally give a book. But because it wasn't a romance, I was like, okay, let's give it a little more time. So I may retry it someday and try it with the audio because I really like the audios of the Greenbone Saga. So maybe that would help me. But yeah, but this series, I've recommended it to many people on my channel. And I know some of you have read it and you understand why I love that series. So, okay, now on to the 3-star reads, which I only had 2 of those. And I'll just kind of get through those quick. Okay, so and that's funny, both of these books that I gave 3 stars to were actually mafia books. And one of them is from one of my favorite authors, and one was from a new to me author. So, like I said, I'll talk about these kind of briefly. The first one here that I gave 3 stars was Frozen Heart by Neva Altai. And I talked about this one pretty extensively as well when I DNF'd it. I went into pretty great detail about why it didn't work for me. This one was about the couple, let me find them here, about Iris and Adriano, and they had been being teased for 2 books at this point. And I know that because I went back and like was rereading some books in this series, and like, wow, they were teased for a long time. And I just did not like the hero at all. I didn't find him being emotionally vulnerable at any points. And I think they both kept, like, there's a big secret that they both are keeping, but yet we know the truth about it. And the fact that Iris can't figure out what's going on that whole fucking book is ridiculous to me. Like, it makes her seem very unintelligent, and Neva Altai doesn't write unintelligent heroines. And then there was a twist with a villain that was diabolical, and not in the way that's like, oh, that's diabolical. I was like, why? So I was very frustrated. And then add on that this is her longest book she's written. It was so drug out, and I stand by the fact that my second favorite book of hers is also very long. It is. Sweet Prison is very long. That one needs to be long because it's a step sibling romance, and you need to set that up. Like, you can't have that be short and have it work. But other favorites of mine of hers are much shorter, and she used to be so good at getting to the point of the story very quickly, and just hitting you with the emotional weight, like bam, bam, bam. And this one just felt like, I don't know, like she overthought it, or she was trying to be too clever, or whatever. I don't know. It didn't work for me. And anyway, I won't drag on about it now. I did it again, as I'll say. I will link up here the playlist where I have my like weekly wrap-ups. That's something I forgot to mention at the beginning, because all of these books I talk about in weekly wrap-ups, and I generally go in deeper on them. I won't be able to do that with all 24 of these, or will be too long. I'm sure this will already be a long video, but I was just very disappointed about how we went about that. Then there was Untamed Beast. That one should also be in this month. Sorry, pulling up my spreadsheets for these. And this was by Madison Juno. And this was me trying a new to me author. And I actually got this one off of NetGalley, which is always a risk. It is, but I've won a few times by trying some new authors off of NetGalley that I wouldn't have found otherwise, you know? So I'm definitely willing to do it. Definitely willing to try books that way. But this one was a like Bratva romance, and this one was Lex. It was Lex because it was Alexander and his nickname is Lex, and Natalia. And I don't even want to get into this one. I just didn't care about this couple. It was just a weird pairing. The plot was confusing. I guess it was her, like, he was blamed for killing her brothers. She has been paired up multiple times and always gets out of the arranged marriage. She finds a way to like embarrass the guy and get out of the arranged marriage by like proving he's a creep or something. And now he forces her into an arranged marriage with him. But he's the one who supposedly killed her brothers. But really he was framed for that. He was actually friends with her brothers. Her dad is actually evil. It was just, there's too much going on in this one, and I didn't care for it. So that's it. That's all we need. Anyway, those are the 2 3-star reads. Okay. Then I just had 1 3.5-star read. So as I always say with these, especially when I'm reading a lot of new releases and ARCs and ALCs, I'm a pretty easy person with these. You know, I love romance. It doesn't take a lot to win me over. But particularly with authors I really love, I can be pickier. And then also, you know, with an author like Madison Juno, who I hadn't tried before, that book took me so long to get through that by the end, I was like, I'm not going to be forgiving of this book because it drug on forever. Okay, the 3.5 star I gave was Ravenous by Cressley Cole. This book, I don't want to talk too much about it. Recent update here, I actually am going to be on a live show with Amber and Helen to discuss Ravenous, so it's a teeny tiny spoiler, but that I gave this 3.5 stars. I mean, not really, because again, talked about it on a weekly wrap up. I did enjoy this. Like, this isn't a 3.5 that, like, I hated it. I think I rounded it to the 4. It's just that this one is incomplete because this had a cliffhanger. And this is the first time I've ever read a Cressley Cole with a cliffhanger. This is a brand new world, all new characters. It's like it's an alternate universe to Immortals After Dark. It's a very different, just everything's different. So interesting. So there was just a lot. And it is the first Cressley Cole book. Well, not the first. Don't say that. Because I have read arcs for her before. But I usually listen to all my Cressley Cole books. Okay. Robert Peckoff is the only way to listen to a Cressley Cole book. Okay. He's wonderful. So I want to reread this book someday. I probably won't have time to reread it before our live show. I wish that I would. But yeah, I still enjoyed this a good fair amount. I had a good time with it. But yeah, anyway, check out my weekly wrap up for that. And also the live show will be September 5th on Amber's channel. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with Helen and Amber about it. They actually did last year a read along where they read all the Immortals After Dark books. So it'll be really fun to discuss. I'm really looking forward to talking with other people who've read it because I've read it and none of my other friends who have read Immortals After Dark have read this yet, where we've been able to go into it. So I'm looking forward to talking about it with them, about what they think. So, but I did give it 3.5. And I do mention in that video though or in my original video, and I'll say it here too, I potentially will rate that book higher in the future because it was a cliffhanger, and I absolutely believe that there are things in this book that once I know the trajectory of the story, that I will like that book more. I just don't know them yet, right? In the same way that when I reread Immortals After Dark, there are all these little things that Cressley planned years ahead of time that are only just coming to fruition in the series, right? You just can't predict those things. But the first time you read it, you can't read it with the future knowledge. You just have to enjoy it for what you enjoy. And the first time through, there's not a lot to connect with. There was only a couple of the 11,000 characters introduced that I connected with. And that was kind of the problem, is it's like, I see the potential where I'm like, I'm going to love you later. You know, I'm like, I'm going to love you someday. But right now, I don't know if I love you yet. So I just got to be honest. And I wasn't going to just give it a 5-star just because, you know? So, all right, let's get into the 4 stars, which we have a lot. Okay, so the first 4-star to talk about was Safekeeping by Kristen Proby. I think this is the first one that I had an audio for that we've talked about. Yeah, so this one I had an audio ALC for, and this was the second one in a duet, because I think there's just 2 in this series. And this was with Montlake for Kristen Proby, and it was a ex-Secret Service guy. He still like does like training Secret Service agents, but he was the ex-Secret Service agent and the president's daughter. And in this world, the president is a woman, and she has a daughter who is now like well, how do we explain this? When the hero, what's his name? Gideon worked for the president, the daughter was like underage and like just becoming a woman, and he was her protector. Then he got injured protecting her. Like, I think he got shot, and he ended up retiring, and now he lives in Montana with his family, and he like trains Secret Service agents. Sorry, I need the fan back. It is. I'm getting sweaty here. And Lena, she is just trying to live her life. She's an artist. Doesn't really want to be a part of the life in Washington, but she still has to have protection. And it's been, I think, like, I don't know, 5 years or so. So, like, she's fully an adult now. She's in her early 20s. I think Gideon is, like, I don't know, 12, 15 years older than her. I don't remember what the age gap is. But something happens where, like, she almost gets kidnapped. And so the president asks a favor that Gideon would look out for Lena. And so Lena gets shipped off to Montana to stay with Gideon while they're trying to figure out who tried to kidnap her. So now she is like staying with him kind of like on the DL, and he's trying to teach her some like self-defense and protection and stuff. And these like secret attraction that she had for him bubbles up, and now he sees her as a woman for the first time because she is a woman and is grown up, and now they're living forced proximity. So it was great, but it is a Kristen Proby. So what do I always say about her? It's very formulaic. Within 100 pages, they're fucking. Within 100 pages more, they're in love and getting married, and that's how it goes. So I did like it though. I liked the like bodyguard part of it. I liked the suspense element of it because it was a legitimate suspense element to it, not like in some of the other ones where it feels very like, okay, we could have prepared for this. Like, no, there's a legitimate threat to this woman's safety, and we do have to be careful of, you know, if someone finds out where you are actually kind of vulnerable here in the middle of nowhere, you know, so it's important to look out. But it was a good time. Okay, then we had Tempting Venom by Rena Kent. I enjoyed this, but my mainest issues for it, that's so weird to say. This one is Preston and, who is this? Preston and Marcus, who were set up in the first two. Now, this was the series where the first two romances in this series were actually MF romances, and then this one's an MM, and we've been kind of teased about this relationship the whole time. And Preston has some serious like mental health issues here. Okay. Marcus and him have like known each other since they were young, kind of. This one's the one that's supposed to have the secret society stuff going on. And Preston is very much like fighting against his sexuality the whole time. He has a lot of internalized homophobia and like self-hate from abuse that he suffered as a young man. And so a big part of my issue when this one all played out, all right, for how thick ass this book is, it's almost, well, okay, it's 550 plus pages, okay? We never, in my opinion, deal with like the abuse that Preston suffered, okay? And I had people bitching back at me about this, and I reject that, okay? I don't want to get fully heated here. But one of the best parts of it being a dark romance, in my opinion, is when we find out who hurt us, we can destroy that person, okay? That we're in a dark romance. This is mafia-esque families. We don't gotta follow the rules, okay? We can fucking kill them, okay? And when we discover who had been abusing Preston and what they'd done to him and how they made him hate himself and his desires and all these things, we learn that, oh yeah, his dad already took care of it, but never told him that he did. And so Preston had just been suffering with this like mental health problems when he could have known that it was taken care of all this time. And I had someone say like, well, I didn't need to see that that him take care of that. And I'm like, well, good for you. But most of us do. Like, that's why we're reading a dark romance, is for the catharsis of seeing our demons get exorcised, not just hearing about it, right? It's getting to see it. It also meant that there was nothing for Marcus to get to do to exorcise those demons for his partner. He just gets to hear about what happened to his love and then learn, oh, your dad took care of it already. Okay. I mean, it's good that his dad did do that so that they can fix their relationship. But you know, again, I use the example of God of Fury. Think of the scene, that how bonding that scene is for like Lan and Nico when they go take care of the person who hurt Bran. How they don't have to show the actual revenge. They just show the beginning of it, and they hint at what they're going to do to that person who hurt Bran. How good that felt. You know, and in this one, the dad's just like, oh yeah, I did this thing to him. You don't got to worry about him anymore. So for how much we've seen Preston self-hating and the internalized homophobia and him like, you know, feeling awful every time Marcus would touch him or they would fuck or he would have any sexual touches with Marcus, he would then want to like hurt himself. And then to just find out that nope, your dad took care of that. It just felt like a ripoff. So anyway, I ended up at a 4-star with this one, but the more I think about it, kind of like the less I like this one, because also I don't feel any resolution. Well, not that there would be full resolution, but we didn't do enough with the Secret Society that I felt like was handled really well in the first book. I loved what was set up in the first book. I feel like we didn't do anything with it in this one. So yeah, this just, what did we do with it? Very disappointing to me. So yeah, maybe this one should have been lower on my ranking now that I just ranted about that a bit. Okay, Endless Summer Nights by Willow Astor. This one was a second chance romance between Lola and Tully. And I'm not even going to go into this one. This one was all right. This one had lots of flashbacks. They were pretty well utilized, I think. I still stand by. This is one of those. No, I think they were pretty well utilized because when we get the flashback is when we need the information. So that's good. But the first few flashbacks are kind of the ones we don't need. So it was all right. Usually Willow Astor's books are like all 5 stars to me. So I think that's why it's like, it was just okay. All right. Then there is Two Wrongs. This one I did a whole 2-hour reading vlog about. So not going to talk about it here, but it ended up being 4 stars. The reading experience was a 5-star though, but the book itself was about a 4-star read. So definitely check out that vlog if you want more info. There was Marry Me Not, which I enjoyed this one as well. This one was a arranged marriage / blackmail into marriage / please marry me / this was book 2 in the House of Ferrero. And it was just all right. I don't know. So far, Be With Me and Marry Me Not, I'm just not vibing with this family as much as I liked the original series that she wrote so far. But I think the setup for the next one is looking better, so I'm holding on. I think part of it too is that there was just a really long wait for this one, and that's okay. Like really, you know, Gabrielle Sands has been really good with her release dates, and then she had a baby and things got a bit overwhelming, and this was still really good. I really love that, like, in this series, the mom is kind of the villain, and not just the normal bitchy kind of mom. Like, she's devious, and I like that. It's interesting to see what the mafia can turn a woman into, and it's more than just, like, selling her daughters off. Like, to see what a woman with sons could do in the mafia, and how she could be dangerous, I'm finding very interesting. But the romance for those two, I didn't love as much because I think that, where's his name? Hold on. Marry Me Not. Let's find this one. I think that, where'd you go? Is that in August that I read this? It was. I think that, Cosimo didn't really deserve Fabiana, and I don't feel like he did by the end either. So that's a bit of a downplay there. Okay, then there was Zone by Tia Louise. This one was, what are we at? Book 4 in the New Bradfords. This one was a football romance. Most of them have been hockey. And this one is a sports broadcaster. I mean, not broadcaster, a sports podcaster and a football player. He also is a surprise single dad, not with her baby. This one was just all right. Then also 4 stars was The Widow and the Wanted, which actually just came out today, the day that I'm filming this, on the 25th. And this was a dark historical Western, and I did enjoy this one a lot. I think the plot had too many things going on, but it was a true MMF romance. It had a half native, half white hero. It had a white hero and a widow heroine, and they end up surviving a massacre together and snowed in for the winter together. And I enjoyed it a good bit for being the first time I read this author, and I think this is only her 2nd release, and it was pretty good. So I definitely will read. And then the final 4-star was Vicious Obsession. This wasn't one I had an arc for. I just wanted to read it soon, and this was number 4 or 5 in the Hellions of Hade Harbor, but it was a British hero. It's a hockey romance, and the heroine and him are step siblings, and it's also a bully romance. So I just talked about this one in my most recent weekly wrap up, and like, it was all right. It could have been better, but it was also pretty interesting as well. Once he started to turn from bully into protector, it gets really good. So I enjoyed it a good amount. All right, now into the 4.5-star reads. So first up, I had Set It Right by Julia Wolf. This was the 4th release in the Kelly Ranch series, and this one was Cormac Kelly and what's her name? It's a Z. Zara. So this was, you know, of course, this is Elena and Locke's youngest boy. And then Zara is actually, I forgot their names, but it's a couple from Bright Like Midnight. It's their kid. So it's two couples, kids from the new adult series, right? This whole series is Lachlan and Elena's kids, but then Zara is from Bright Like Midnight's kids as well. And so this one is actually they were childhood best friends. Zara used to come visit Sugar Brush, Wyoming in the summers, and then something changed. And then the night before her wedding, she actually overhears Cormac saying something which she interprets as not so flattering to her fiance. But then she ends up marrying the guy anyway. And now it's 3 years later and she's divorced, and she goes to stay in Sugar Brush for the summer. And she's going to be an adventure guide at the resort that the Kellys own. And now she becomes best friends with Cormac again, and they slowly start to unravel kind of what had happened back then, why they lost their friendship, why he said what he said, and what had happened in her marriage, and how things have unraveled. So, yeah, this one, 4.5 star. I gave it 4.5 because, in my opinion, usually, and I will show you an example of this because I have another book by this author on this list that is a 5-star read. Usually when there is a misunderstanding or someone overhears a thing, I think Julia Wolf does misunderstandings very well, right? Like she sets them up in a way that if there's a misunderstanding, it's something that, though it still is like, oh, if you had just heard one more word, or if you just done this, you would understand why it happened. And this was one I don't think is perfectly thought out. And so it just leaves you deeply like, if you trusted this person as much as you think you do, or you knew them better, like you wouldn't have fallen for that. And so that just, that just didn't feel quite right to me as a Julia Wolf. So it just couldn't be quite 5 stars because I expect the very bestest from my queen, Julia Wolf. But still, overall, this is a very wonderful series. If you love cowboys or westerns, or you loved Locke and Elena and want to see lots of them, this series is great for that. Absolutely great for that. Okay, then there was Forever Fighting by Jay Shaman, and that one was if I remember right, I believe, let me just double check because I read a lot by, yeah, this one is Roman and Braylon, and this one is a brother's best friend, and I think it's a runaway bride one, but then she ends up marrying him instead. I think that's what this one is. Yeah, they get married in Vegas together instead because he cheated on her. But yeah, okay. He's an MMA fighter and a celebrity chef. She's a nurse. I think she's a nurse. They're all nurses or doctors in this series somehow. And this was the one where I think his younger brother died and he was her boyfriend. But then she ends up dating another friend, and that's the friend that cheats on her. And then she ends up marrying him in Vegas. So, a very complicated thing, but it was so romantic. The way they remember their, like, his younger brother and her lost love together, and just, I don't know, it was really beautifully done. I loved it. There was Promise Me This by Jennifer Susovic. This one was a single dad. She becomes the nanny, but also she's pregnant and it's not his baby, and the guy's trying to hound her into getting rid of it, and instead he ends up taking her in and having her be his nanny. It's a really good one. I like that. Okay, Take My Kiss by Brooke Montgomery. So this is the one that it's the oldest new release on here, because this one did come out in February of this year. And I actually read this one for an annotated book. I annotated it for a patron, but it did come out this year, so I'm including it in a recent release I read. And this is one that it's a single mom with 3 kids. It's actually, I think it's an older woman too. And she'd had a one-night stand with this guy at a wedding, but because she has, maybe it's 2 kids, I don't know, because she has some kids, she's like, we can't be anything more than this. Well, then she has a stalker and she's kind of in fear of her and her kids' lives. And so it turns out the hero's family offers her a place to stay, and that ends up being staying with him. So she ends up, I mean, she doesn't know when she's offered the place to stay that it's like in his home, but he, Colt and Amanda are their names, or Amelia, and she ends up staying with him and absolutely like falling head over heels, and he loves her kids, and it was just a really beautiful story. I love how Brooke Montgomery did that one, and it was my favorite in the series, especially because that one wasn't an enemies to lovers. Like, she always makes her characters hate each other first, and they hate each other for the dumbest things. I'm sorry, I said it. It's not just a Brooke Montgomery problem. It's other people. Like, they always got some hate for some stupid reason. And that one, it was just, she had a one-night stand and it was great, but she's like, but I'm a mom and I don't have room for more. But then she does. Okay, and then the final 4.5 star is Into the Fading Twilight by Catherine Cowles. I've talked about this book and this series a ton. I really enjoyed this one. This one takes place well, of course it does. Duh. This one picks up after Across the Vanishing Sky with Nova's story. Nova had been held captive for over a year, and now she is free, but she's still really struggling, and she's actually kind of being suffocated by her friend who had, been looking for her and trying to find her, but she is suffocating her a bit with her support. And Cole, who is the guy who actually found her, he offers her his like guest house, and him and his daughter kind of become her safe place where she can be protected but still be alone. That is until someone connected to her captor starts stalking her again. And this is a suspense series. So I like this one. Didn't like it quite as much as the first one, which I was surprised at because of how good it was. And a lot of the reason why I didn't like it as much is that who the baddie was in this one just kind of made me roll my eyes, which I felt bad about. Like, I was shocked who it was, but at the same time, I was like, really? That's who it was? Like, I was hoping it was something more than that. But still looking forward to continuing the series because there was a really good cliffhanger for the next one. All right, then we are at the 5-star reads, and I actually have 4 of those, and I have all of them because I love getting the 5-star reads. So, first off, we have Fever Dream by Elsie Silver, and this is the lovely special edition that I was sent for being on her ARC team here. Look at this beautiful whatever. This is the story of Theo, no, not Theo. This one is Emmett and Theo Silva's sister, and this is like a cowboy bachelor. I didn't know how I was going to feel about this one because I don't really like books that are about reality TV. This is Julia Silva and Emmett. But I really liked how this one was handled, and like Theo, I keep wanting to say Theo, Emmett's reasons for needing the money and needing to rescue his family ranch, and then Julia working in the production of it, I really, really liked. And the reason I keep saying Theo is because her brother Theo and Emmett are rivals in the rodeo circuit, and it's kind of a big to-do about it. But they're forbidden for being together because she's working on the show, and he's supposed to pick a girl to marry, and he's not supposed to date anyone for a full year before the show comes out, because that would like ruin the show if he's supposed to be dating someone on the show and then he is seen dating someone else in real life. So there's like all these things, but I really liked it. I think Elsie Silver does a great job, and I loved it. It was 5 stars. All right, another cowboy one was West of Forever by Corinne Michaels. I talked about this one a ton as well, okay? I know it. I know I have. But this one, I can show visuals. This one was about Tristan and Lark, who are from rival families that farms butt up against each other. And Tristan actually has a teenage daughter named Sadie. And their families have been kind of warring with each other for a long time. But in the beginning of this book, Tristan comes upon Lark while there is a rainstorm and she's in a dangerous spot. And he rescues her when her boyfriend refuses to. And that kind of starts some conversation between the two of them where, you know, a little flirty flirt leads to them starting to hook up on Infinity Ridge, where they continue to meet up and hook up, and they're never going to tell. You know, they're enemies to secret hookup lovers, and no one's going to find out. No one's going to find out, except when all the feelings start happening. And it goes from there. So, love this one. I can't wait for the next one. That's coming very soon. Okay, my hair's getting out of control and we're almost done, so we're clipping it. All right, 2 more. All right, here it is. The other Julia Wolf that was a 5-star, or that is on this list, is a 5-star, and it's Try Again, Baby. I'm actually just about to reread this book. That's why there's little tabs in here. And this is the first book in the Wells Brothers series. But Ben Wells is actually the twin of Roman, who was in By the Letter, which is also a surprise baby. But this one is a surprise kid because Ben and Mazzy end up hooking up when their plane gets diverted to like a different city or whatever, and they hook up, and when she finds out she's pregnant, they haven't exchanged numbers because they're never planning to meet up again. It was just supposed to be a hookup. But he has said that he plays rugby, and she makes the drive to the city that he plays in, and she shows up, and when she confronts him, well, she's not trying to confront him, she's just trying to tell him she's pregnant. He pretends, to her eyes, he pretends he has no idea who she is and says, don't ever contact me again, blah, blah, blah. Well, as we would know, Ben is a twin. So it wasn't Ben saying, don't contact me again. It was Roman. And this was Roman 5 years ago, before he ever, when he was still playing rugby himself, and she didn't know that Ben had a twin. And so when this guy who looks like Ben pretends not to know her and doesn't believe her that she's pregnant with his kid, she just is like, fine, I'll do it all myself. And it's only 5 years later when now Mazzy has moved to Denver for a job. She's lost her dad. It's just her and her sister raising her daughter, who's now 4.5. Her sister goes and confronts Ben, and Ben is like, what now? I have a kid? And in this time, Roman has actually had a surprise kid, working on kid number 2, actually, and he now remembers when he's confronted by Ben, oh my God, I did turn that girl away. How was I supposed to know? And Ben's like, you think you could have mentioned, because maybe I had slept around and you just absolutely crushed this woman. And so Ben now is absolutely desperate to get to know his kid. He's so heartbroken what happened, and he's going to do everything he can to get Mazzy to try again, baby. And this one is beautiful. And it's funny, as I've said this before, when I learned what the tropes for this one were, that it was going to be a 5-year, I read the blurb that it would be 5 years before Ben knew he had a kid. I know Ben's a twin, and I was like, oh my God, Roman fucks this up for him. Because Roman was a big grouchy grump before he becomes a dad. And I was like, but Ben, if you've read By the Letter, you know that Ben was so fucking excited to be an uncle. The fact that, he was a dad, before Roman was a dad, and could have been there for the birth of his daughter. This is the type of misunderstanding Julia Wolf does well. Now, the third act conflict in here, where Ben acts like a complete little scared bitch boy, that almost lost me. It almost lost me. That's why this one didn't get a 6-star like By the Letter did. Because the growth that Roman has in By the Letter, how he acts, that's 6-star book boyfriend material. Ben, he's still acting like a bit of a baby, but he wins by the end. So anywho, there's that. Now, the last 5-star book I just talked about recently, but I did just get in my pre-order of the nipple cover, which is Devil by Sierra Simone. There it is, baby. Okay, this was her most recent release. Book 4 in the Priest series. I pre-ordered this from the, where did I order this from? I ordered this from Novel Grounds, which these were available indie covers. You could get the sad nipple cover, as it's called. And I did. I got my sad nipple cover of Ryan Bell. And yeah, this is Birdie Cooper. She is an older woman. She's 9 years older than Ryan. And the story starts with her as Ryan's professor. He is a senior. She is 9 years older than him. Or is it 7? Maybe she's 7 years older than him. But yeah, I'm not even going to get into in this one. I talk about it in my weekly wrap up. But I loved it. So glad I got my copy in of this one because it's gorgeous. It's so pretty. But this was 5 stars. I loved it. Sierra Simone is fantastic. So, all right, time to wrap this beauty up because I'm sweating to death. But there you go. That is my rank from my DNFs to my 5-star reads of the last 24 recent releases that I've read. Let me know what your favorite and least favorite books of the last few months are. I'll have links to everything down below. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hype this video, like this video, and we'll see you next time.